welcome Molly Phonpadith, one of my great friends I've known forever, here today on the Dating Advisory Board to go over dating is business and business is dating. So let's find out what you have been up to. I mean, there's so many things going on. I'm so excited for you. So let's hear what's going on.
Well, you know that I'm the founder of the SOAR Community Network, and in a few weeks here, we're going to be hosting our first ever SOAR Community Summit. And that is going to be an extraordinary event. It's the first time that we're bringing national leaders from all over the country together to talk about this thing called legacy, right? We hear a lot about it, but we really don't associate that in the business world so much, because people, when they do civic leadership and they're out there doing advocacy work, you hear legacy a lot. But my challenge for Washington, D.C. and the nation, as well as internationally, is to really bring it to the business world. How can you make an extraordinary impact in your community while being profitable? So this is, the theme is advancing legacy-driven leadership and developing legacy-driven leaders.
Oh, good, good. I'm excited for it. May 6th, can't wait.
That's right.
So tell me about some of the other projects. So I know that you're doing Tony Robbins movies that's coming out. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, I got involved with the Rise Up movement and movie when Dr. Kate Maloney was introduced to me by a dear friend of mine, Brian Ramos. And they got a hold of me because they knew that I was also affiliated with the Oprah Winfrey Network's Belief Team Partnership last year. And that's just how it works. You know, I think we're going to talk about dating and business, and it really does come down to relationships. And not just relationships, but how do you actually make commitments that you see through.
Right.
And it just makes a difference. When someone can trust you that you're going to do a great job, they'll call you back for other opportunities. So the Rise Up movement and movie, Tony Robbins is involved, the Dalai Lama is involved, and this organization is really trying to create a grassroots effort. So every single person in the world, they're trying to inspire you to uncover your special gifts and talents and choose passion to uncover your purpose. Right. And if every single one of us could do that, then it would be a different world, right? If we really just claimed something that's unique and special and go do something positive with it. So that's what the movement is all about. I'm one of their ambassadors. And right after the SOAR Community Summit on May 6th, we're going to do a series of promotion to support that initiative.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited for it. Got a lot of awesome stuff coming up. So when you made the point about, you know, dating is business, I mean, I always think dating is business, business is dating, right? I mean, it kind of all goes back to that. And in this world now where you have such an online dating community, I mean, it could be overwhelming. I mean, even being, you know, single forever or been in a relationship and it's now ended and now you're back in the dating pool, divorce. So, you know, it really kind of becomes a dating strategy. I mean, like, you are the brand. Like, so how would you use business principles and apply them in the dating world? I think that it's kind of an interesting, you know, mix of like, okay, and you help a lot of entrepreneurs launch their businesses. So can you kind of take us through a little bit of how you would start that?
Yeah, well, you know, it's interesting because when you brought this concept, I know we were having lunch together and we were just brainstorming about these awesome projects that you wanted to kind of launch. And when you said the Dating Advisory Board, I was like, oh my gosh, that is a winner. Because I think even in the business world, being an entrepreneur and then also being a human being, we weren't taught really to bridge the two. It was like when I went to school for business, they always said, my teachers would always say, well, you keep personal and professional business. And I learned that when I was in corporate, that was the struggle for me because number one, I'm a very heart-centered person. I just wear my heart on my sleeve. I've always been that way.
Yeah, me too.
People think I'm sappy and super like, you know, ethereal. But at the end of the day, I struggled with leaving my whole self at home and trying to be one way at work. And I think it's the same in the world of dating, right? You have to be all of you when you show up. And pre-show, we were talking about, you know, all these online sites and how do you go about literally what do you choose to put out there as a first impression?
Exactly.
And my job with my work and with my coaching is to help people really find their uniqueness and be proud of it and not be afraid to message that and take it out to the market, including in the dating world. Because number one, you don't want to waste time. And number two, it is a true filtering system. I mean, people out there are going to either love you or they're not going to love you. They're either going to vibe with you or not going to vibe with you.
Exactly.
And the faster you know that, the less time you waste.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I always used to say, oh, I just want someone's demons who play well with my demons, right? You know, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, everybody, but to be authentic, right? To live an authentic life. And if you put yourself out there, and I mean, I think that, I mean, if you're going in a LinkedIn profile, for instance, and you're trying to get business, if you're trying to get business in the dating world side, you may want to have more of a professional looking photo, and just a kind of a funny, like we talked about, I think, what was it? One of the old, comedian actors was saying, "Oh, like you're always meeting the representative, right? Like you're never really meeting the true person, right?" I mean, I think that goes into business too. Like, I hear, "Oh, well, I just need to get X amount of clients." Well, you should be picking your clients, right? The people you're going to want to work with, right? Well, you should pick, like, really filter out who you want to date.
Right. It's true,
and it's.
And it is a strategy. It truly is a strategy. And it doesn't have to be so contrived, right?
Right.
But there's some intentionality to everything that we do. And the more that you're comfortable with who you are and what you want out of life, and it does take time. Like, we can talk about being authentic all day long, but it takes us time to do personal development and really define what the hell that means, right? To being authentic isn't just a word or concept. You literally have to do the hard work. You have to figure out what's, and this is why the SOAR Community Network, SOAR stands for See, Own, Articulate, and Release. And what we put our clients through is not just, the outcome is marketing and messaging, but when we work with leaders, we literally work through a process of helping them see what's really happening and what they really want out of life. And then you have to actually own it, right? You have to, oh my God, that's really what I want, or I didn't know that that's really what's happening inside of me, keeping me back, holding me back, or and then you have to actually articulate that. And what I mean by that is you have to tell yourself a different story, because if what you were telling yourself and others hasn't been working, and you haven't found the right client or found the right partner, you might have to change your story. You might have to shift your way of seeing the world and take responsibility for the things that aren't perfect about you either, right?
You have to do some self-reflection.
Exactly.
I think you need to do that in any sort of situation. A client, a loved one. I think that you need to kind of take some time and self-reflect. I mean, it could take a few months, a year, many years, just to kind of think, okay, in order for me to make, I have to be happy with myself, right? I have to be able to own the things that I am responsible for, because we're all responsible, right? So, and I think that if you did that, I mean, you're more open to being able to be with someone, or have the perfect client, or however you want to round it. But I think self-reflection is a huge piece.
Right. And I think about the advisory board. We have friends in the dating world, and they become our advisory board, right? Just like when we have business, we have an advisory board. And it's so important that if you're the visionary of your own company, or if you're like the star of your own life, it's okay to take in advice from other people. It's really great to have friends that you can trust, but not everybody is out there for your best interest. Everybody has an agenda. We're human beings, we're flawed, right? So it's also important for us to really develop that intuition, to listen to intuition. And I tell you, with all my years of experience with the pain and the trauma I've gone through with loss and grieving and healing, there's a very, very interesting thing that happens with intuition and fear. They are very similar.
Yes.
So, a lot of people make decisions based on what they think is intuition, but it could be an old story, a trigger, that they're so afraid of loss or being hurt, and they just automatically believe that this is, in fact, the truth of today. And you carry old relationships, like the things that have happened in old relationships, and project it into the new one. And that's not necessarily fair. Same in business. When you go into the boardroom, people will always, and that's why you have a board, that's why you have friends, right? To ask them, well, what do you think? This is an opportunity, here's a proposition, where would you take it? And that's great, you need to have that. But if you don't know and trust yourself to make your ultimate decisions, you won't find your perfect mate that's for you, perfect for you. I don't believe in perfect anything, but that's perfect for you. If you're so busy taking everybody else's opinion as gold, and you don't even know and trust your own. Right.
I mean, I think that we kind of turn off our intuition. I love Philip McKernan. He's an amazing speaker, and I've seen him so many times. And he really talks about that. Like, what are you building your empire? Who are you building it for? Right? Like, why? Like, there's something that we're all, that little kid, like you said, inside adult bodies, right? And so there was some hurt, something that had happened in the past that's still rearing its head, right? And so until you kind of come up, for center and say, okay, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make these changes because. They talks about intuition, right? I mean, what's your passion and purpose? I mean, what is your gift to the world, right? I mean, if you're ignoring that, then how can you find the perfect person or the perfect job, right? Like,
I think the other challenge too is knowing that we mirror each other.
Yeah.
Like, the more you and I spend time together, we're going to start talking the same, doing isms. But the fear that we have, especially in the dating, we can talk about this a little bit, but 10 years ago, over a decade ago, I lost my fiance, and we were 3 months before we got married, and it was a real long journey for me to kind of reclaim what that means to actually allow myself to love again. And during the period of grieving, and I dated other people, I wanted my heart to kind of sing and soar, but you can't ignore that there's work to do. Like,
Right.
there's internal stuff that you have to let go of so that the other person that comes in the door can have a fair shot. Right?
Correct,
Can
yeah.
have a true fair shot. And I advise people all the time, whether it's relationship or business, is to be very careful of bringing past mistakes into the present moment. It's not
Right.
always legitimate to do that. Sometimes it is, because you have evidence to prove if you go down this road,
then that
and
happens,
the
right,
likeliness
right,
of it
right.
happening is greater. But sometimes we also are so afraid to take risks that we miss the opportunity for true love, or
Right.
for an amazing project that just, we weren't patient enough, or we're afraid of our own success, so we self-sabotage. And
Correct.
I've been there, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
can talk to this. Like, it's a real thing.
Right. I mean, the fear drives, oh, I want to start this project, or I don't, and then you have somebody in your back, and it's usually your own head saying,
Right.
well, no, you should just keep doing the norm. You should just keep on this path because, it's safe and you can't really be judged, because that's what we're all, afraid of being judged, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't take that risk, you don't want to be, I don't ever want to be that person 90 years old being like, I wish I could have done that. I do not want to live with regret. So like, once you have that really self reflection, I think that kind of helps you on your journey, whether it's in personal relationships or a business. I mean, if you really become driven that way, I think it's interesting. But yeah, I mean, the dating world has kind of changed. I mean, you have these profiles that are just interesting. I mean, some of these things that I've seen. I mean, the names that their usernames.
Right.
I mean,
Their handles.
There's handles, like the pictures, like. I mean, how would you take that as, a marketing strategy point?
Well, it's really important because we focus a lot on personal branding and that authentic message for businesses. And I always ask people want to work with people. So you have to lead with your personal brand no matter what. And there's proof of this happening because if you think of the great marketers out there, the online gurus, if you look at their business page and you look at their personal branding page, their personal brand is like in the millions and their business page might be in the 100,000s. And even on my Facebook, we rebranded last year to SOAR Community Network. And my SOAR Community Network page has like 2,000 or 1,500 likes when we launched it last year. But my Phonpadith public page has like 8,000, almost 9,000, and I just launched that about 6 or 8 months ago.
Right.
So people really want to know, like, who is, in my case, the girl or the woman or the lady behind this project or initiative. And I think it's the same with dating. It's like you can put all this fluff out there,
Right.
but if people are truly following you, if let's say there's a gentleman that's interested in you and he sees your profile and he sees your handle, and if he's truly following you, over time, you're creating a brand whether you know it or not.
Right.
Whatever you're posting, whatever you're saying, if you're negative or positive, that person is creating already a story about you.
Right.
And so my challenge to my friends and my clients is, take a hold of your own brand. Like, intentionally put out a story that is authentically yours, but that you can be proud of.
Right.
Because someone's making stuff up about you anyway.
I know, exactly. The haters are always going to hate. That's for sure. So, but it's interesting when I think of ideas, and you always have that, and I always tell myself this, and I want to make sure I make it a point, is that, you have, these ideas, these stories, my little Facebook,
Right.
200-word stories that I said, and then before I posted, I'm like, oh, I don't know. What if somebody doesn't like it? What if someone doesn't, they make a comment or, share it or something like that? And I was afraid of it, right? Because I didn't believe in myself, and so you have to get that out of your head, right? Believe in yourself. You can do this, I mean, it doesn't matter. You're always going to have somebody who has a comment.
Right.
I mean, whether it's good or bad, right? And then you just say, oh, whatever, I'll just keep it moving.
Well, I'll give you a very powerful and challenging case study, and it was a personal journey that happened to me recently. I wrote a book called A Million Fireflies, and it was my journey from war-torn Laos, how I became a refugee, came here, and really just my parents and my family just made their way, and here I am, like, running my own business and living this ultimate dream. But not everybody's going to see that as a positive thing. You're always going to have people who will judge you and make stuff up that they don't know.
Right.
And somebody came to me recently and said, yeah, I read your book, and I just can't believe, like, you would capitalize on your late fiance's loss. And, and it's just like, what? the hell,
Yeah.
right? But you're going to get that. And then you have to really center yourself and realize that the reason why this is important to me is because I've known so many people who've lost love unexpectedly, tragically, and there's nobody that they can go to. Like, they just, because no one wants to talk about it, it's too hard. And I'm like, no, forget that, because half the world is going to love me and want to be a part of my community and know that I can relate to their heart, and I've been through it and I've survived. And the other half of the world, they've never experienced it. They won't ever understand it. And you know what? You have to learn to let go and release.
Right.
Because ultimately, the people who really need you are looking for you.
Right.
And the people who don't care for you, don't understand you, it's okay. Like, you have to really grow tough skin if you truly choose your calling. And that's the challenge. Like, once I know that my calling is to share my journey, not because I want the accolades, but because I've known over the past 10 years, based on my losses, that I've saved some lives, that people said I've been suicidal, or my sister was suicidal, and I gave her your book. And you get these personal notes, and that one person for me is worth it.
Exactly.
And the thousands of people who are saying, you know, whatever they're coming up with, you have to learn to, for me, I meditate on it. I mean, I'm still human. I have ego. My feelings get hurt. I cry, too, when people hurt my feelings, or I feel misunderstood. But I think of the people that really are seeking my help, me uniquely, because no one else has my story. No one has your story.
Right.
And that gets me through the day. But it's not easy. It's not easy to lead with your heart. People always say when you're leading, you're the first to be shot at.
Right.
Because, I mean, everybody else is behind you.
I'd rather go down in flames.
So it's really interesting to have that courage to do it. But it's not easy. You know, you get judged a lot. People throw tomatoes at you, and they say you share too much. That's not good. And it's like, you know, you're never going to win. So you have to really, really define what you stand for, what you want to do in this world, and you have to stay true to it.
Yeah. And I think that applies in dating, obviously.
Absolutely.
I mean, clearly,
Absolutely.
but in the business too. I mean, I think you need to kind of stand by your guns. You know, I mean, I think that a lot of people will sway you in different ways in business and personal, like you said, for different agendas.
Right.
Maybe they're trying to push a product, or maybe they're just trying to push you here because they have ulterior motives, right? So just remember, stay true to yourself, and just don't believe the hype, right? So.
And Jen, I tell you, it's interesting, because when you think of dating too, and this is like with product sales and marketing and branding, we always want to put our best foot forward.
Yeah.
Haven't you ever been in situations where you thought the complete package was amazing, and you fall in love?
Yeah.
And then you start to peel the onion, and you're like, I have no idea why I got myself into this. How did I not see this? Well, for me, because I've been there too, it's like I would not want someone else to go through that with me. So over the years, I started telling guys that I was dating, look, this is my past. Like, this is what happened. And, you know, I was in love with someone, but people really will judge based on how they would react.
Right.
So if they think you're kind of flawed or broken, or it's too heavy for them and they run, which I've had guys just ran, they're like, I don't know if I want to be with someone who's gone through that kind of loss. But they don't know me. They don't know that I've been through a war, that this is one of the most major painful blows in my life, but I've never needed medication. I've always done meditation and found other ways to cope. And not to say anything's wrong with medication, because I think it's important to balance yourself, but we judge people a lot based on how we would react in a situation versus just stepping back and giving someone the opportunity to show up as they are.
Right.
And that's important for dating. That's important for business leadership. That's important for friendships.
Right.
I'd rather just show up as who I am, and you can decide if you want to be my friend or not, than play this game, because we end up hurting each other more in the long run.
Right. And then you made a really good point about, you know, the advisory boards, right? The advisory boards in business and personal. And I really believe that in personal, like, you have your tribe, right? You know,
Absolutely.
you keep your tribe. You know, I've got my tribe, and I love my tribe. But they give me very honest feedback. And some people don't want that, right? They don't want to have the honest feedback. But I'll tell you, I would rather have the honest feedback than have some cockamamie, like, you know, because I'm like, well, whatever. But no, I would, you know, having that, but even having that in the business world, having mentors, having, you know, I always said, like, you know, just to surround yourself, be like the least smartest in the room, right? Or I don't know what the saying was, but, like, you know, learn from others.
Surround yourself with people who are a little bit smarter than you, have been more experienced than you. And it makes a big difference, because if you go into every situation thinking you're a know-it-all, you've already lost the battle, right? You're never going to open yourself to learn, and you're not perfect. There's nobody in this world who's perfect. And just because you have a certain way of seeing the world or being in the world doesn't mean there's not a different way to do it, and maybe better.
Right, and not try to push what you say. Like, yeah, everybody can have opinions. I mean, it's great, but don't try to really push your own agenda in business or in personal. So just listen, right? You know, we always forget to listen. You know, we just had some sales meeting the other day when somebody was talking about listening, right? So we got to listen to our customers. So you know what I did? I think I told you a little bit about this. So I went on and I call it like office visits, right? You know, the salespeople nowadays, I mean, they don't like in business, like, you know, sales is a funnel. In dating, you have to build a sales funnel, right? Like you got to keep the sales coming in. But so what I would do is I would go on site and I would visit with my customers. I mean, I still do this today, but there's a few, so it's taking me a while to get down the list. But it's very interesting when you actually listen to what they say. Like, how can I help your business grow? Like, I actually care about how your business is doing. I mean, that's what I'm selling, a solution. You know, I'm not just selling a product, right? And then you talk about value versus, so, you know, when you're talking about like value, how do I bring value to the client? How are you bringing, you know, value? If we're not providing value, there is no loyalty, right? So, I mean, I think that can go in a personal relationship.
Absolutely.
As well,
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about the core values. You know, I've been in situations where I go on dinner dates and you can see the other person already thinking like, how's this date going to end? They're not with me. They're thinking, what am I going to get at the end of the night? You know, I'm like, wait a minute, like just be here with me.
Right.
And I think we do that in business meetings. I think because we're always thinking, well, I got to meet my quota, or, oh, I got to make sure like this is a good fit. I don't want to waste my time in the dating world, but also in the sales cycle, right? It's just, but I think the most important thing is no matter what, if it's dating or if it's business, you have to uncover what that other person or that other business's core values are.
Exactly.
Truly, not just what they say on a piece of paper or on the plaque, on their mission statement, but you really, and if a company has a leadership team and nobody knows the vision or mission statement or can't really own it as if it's your own, then there's a disconnect there, right?
Right.
And I think just for us too, it's very important to know what our core values are and our mission statement. I mean, it took years for me to figure this out, but we know what our mission is. It's to help every single person sent to us, business sent to us, independent brand sent to us, see, own, articulate, and release their unique light, gift, mission, message into the world. Choose whatever word you want to, you know, because we have some left brain folks, we have some right brain folks. Some people might not like the word light, some people might like the word message, but at the end of the day, we know what we stand for. We know that we can say yes or no to a client if someone isn't caring about community or doesn't want a betterment of society. Then for us, it's very easy to say, no, we're not going to take on that project. But it takes a while to get there. And you can't be in a lacking mentality. You can't be afraid that you won't make money. You have to trust that if you choose the right thing, the money will show up. And that's really what we've been able to do with our brand. And I think that over the past 2 years, our business has gone from just me, solopreneur, freelancer, into this conglomerate of business experts who are really taking our business to the next level.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I love watching it grow, and it's amazing. And they have an amazing luncheon series. So now, how would you, from a branding perspective, I mean, so how would you suggest still the old dating, you know, where introducing to friends, or would you say try the dating online but with a strategy? Like, so
honestly, I think it's a combination of both, because things have changed, mindsets have changed, and you can't be so locked into old traditions that you miss an opportunity to meet someone who may be busy and, you know, doesn't have the time to go in and sit in 50 dinners with you, right? Or 2 dinners or whatever it is to get to the next level. But it really is important to like incorporate the fact that you still have to have a connection. It's nice to be able to ping somebody online and use hashtags and all that fun stuff, but at the end of the day, if you're really looking for a partner, is this person going to take care of the bills? Is he or she going to be responsible? You know, are they going to be good parents if you want to have parents? They want to have children someday. Are we going to get along? Do we have similar core values, right? What are our belief systems? And I do believe that opposites do attract. I think there's some uniqueness to that, but you also have to have similar core values or it doesn't work. If you're completely opposite and you don't believe in the same core values, it just doesn't work. It's going to be too much conflict. So it's a combination of putting yourself out there and uncovering your personal brand and being authentic and being available for people to see you and not be afraid, not hide away, right? Especially if you've been hurt many times before and you're just like, I know I want a partner in life, but I'm so scared. I've been there. And you just kind of go into the serious, well, I'll just date, and you know, I don't have to take it seriously. But there comes a point in your life when that gets old. right? Like every human being desires to be with someone who makes them feel significant and valued and important and special.
Yeah.
It's a human need. It's a hierarchy of human need. So we have to also be able to know that we're allowed to go out and have fun and have that phase in our life. But at the end of the day, what are we looking for? And what do we really want? And that relationship piece of being able to look someone in the eye is so important today, especially with technology. So I think both. You can't really just not rely on social media or on being online because that's how people communicate. But you can't miss the fact that it's nice to go out for coffee or go for a walk or, have a connection where it's like, I really want to know if you're real.
Right.
Tangible.
I mean, I think it's interesting, the technology has changed. I mean, I know that I love to be on the phone. Like I talk to my girlfriends and I'm on the phone and, now, this is interesting how it's all texting and emoticons. And I'm like, okay, with the emoticons, the smiley face, like say something, like let's just talk. Like even if it's like a couple minutes, it just seems like, we kind of lose and, I've seen texts that can be interpreted different ways.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And so it's hard because you're kind of losing that personal touch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, in business, they say, we don't even call people anymore. It's all via email. So that's why I wanted to go on site because salespeople, they don't really, once they sell, they're, on to the next. Mm-hmm. But, keeping in touch with those customers and, going back there and see how things going, going there, it makes a bigger impression.
I think that's the loyalty piece, right? I mean, if you're just using online mechanisms, writing emails here and there, but if they've never met you, the next best thing that comes along, a lower price cut, those types of things, and it's just like, I'll just go with this next person.
Yeah.
But if they've had a chance to meet you and connect with you and have a relationship with you, it's very hard. Something happens psychologically to us that makes us feel a little bit more loyal, right? Like I have to think about this first because I really like Jen.
Yeah.
And I would say the times that we get together, it doesn't have to be an agenda. Like you and I we love getting together for lunch and we just talk about everything and anything, and then great ideas like this come.
I know,
right? Because we're not trying to like make it into something. We're just trying to make sure that we stay connected as friends and grow together. And in dating, it's the same. You like somebody, and you have to be patient. You have to give it time. Like first impressions are always a little tricky. It's like you want to put your best foot forward, and we're all guilty of this.
Did I say something inappropriate? Did I say too much or not enough? And so you're constantly judging yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
The next day you're like, what did I say? I mean, it's just kind of...
And in the back of your mind, you're thinking, is he for real? Like, if he's too nice, you think, oh, something's wrong. If he's a jerk, then you're like, oh, I'm not going to give him the time of day. But he might be a jerk because he's nervous,
Right.
And so it's complicated.
Yeah.
But I see this dynamic in the boardroom, too, because it is relationship. And I have to say this, too, in the dating world as well as in the executive boardrooms, every single person has their own stuff.
Yeah.
And whether it's professional stuff because you've been fired or you've been, in a different position and now you've come on board and you are ranked differently, all of that makes a difference into what you bring to the table. Relationships, you've been hurt before, you've been cheated on before, you show up and you're that full package of everything. So when you're on the other end of it, you have to be a little patient. Like, if I'm showing up with my crap, why am I judging this person to have their crap? Like, where can we, meet each other and say, okay, I'm human, you're human, and let's kind of peel the onion a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And just make sure, like, if our core values are the same. I know at least at this point, I mean, we're not in our 20s and we're not teenagers anymore. We've lived, and people have lived, people who are dating in our age. Like, my husband, he's been through, we're friends for 10 years. He knew me right after I lost my late fiance, and that friendship grew over time, but he's had a life. He lost his late wife to cancer, and you know that you have stuff. Yeah. And that stuff is the stuff that builds you.
Right.
And it gives you empathy. And I love to say that now I can look back and realize they're all blessings, even though I would never wish it on anyone.
Right.
Because my empathy bucket is so wide and deep that there's nothing that would make me uncomfortable when clients come to me or friends come to me and tell me something. I'm like, and I don't tell them what to do. I just said, I get it. And that's enough. Like, you just get it. You don't have to give people advice all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just having somebody listen to you and, depending on how many times you've told the story, but, just to kind of get it off their chest. Because I think talking to people, that's why I say, like, talking to my friends and going out and spending time with your girlfriends. I think that, that's another major thing, I think, in any sort of relationship or guy for, going guys night out, girls night out, whatever. I think it's very important to have a healthy relationship in general, just because you can... keep in touch with your friends, to create experiences.
Yeah.
They're saying nowadays, like, don't spend money on things, spend money on experiences, right? Go on trips. Go to New York. We're, in DC, so it's easy to take a train. But go to New York for the weekend. Right. Go see a show. Go something that you've done, your bucket list that you've never done before. You should do that.
Or even do the little things, because we live in Washington, D.C., and there's certain museums and monuments that I haven't seen. And it's like, wow, I'm literally 10 minutes away in Old Town Alexandria, and all these people travel from all over the world to be here. Yeah. And we just take it for granted. So it's just like kind of stepping back and saying, even our friendships and our relationships, I haven't talked to my friend in so long, because you just assume it's going to be there. And this life happens. We have friends who are young and they've passed away from cancer or heart attacks. I mean, so it's kind of like, why not show up as you are and just tell the truth of who you are and be connected to this person if you're in the dating world. And if you don't connect, that's good too, because it's like, next.
Yeah. And I'll tell you a story. One of just a friend of mine, she's been in the dating world for a while, and she's, really frustrated, because she's just like, these guys, they're just not my type, and like, is this it? Like, she's getting very frustrated, and she's like, it's just a whole nother job. Like, it's dating is a job, right? She's like, it's just so much time on my day, and there's all these requests and likes and, swipe left, swipe right. So it can get overwhelming for her. And she's just like, I can't take it. I'm just going rogue. And so she'll just, get frustrated. And I was like, at the end of the day, I was like, it's fine, but I can see where she's frustrated. Right. So like, maybe just take it on one site, maybe just, or just take a break,
And some things don't work for you. Right. I mean, I have friends who tried the online thing, and they just had more anxiety than it was worth. And so they just really focused on, again, themselves. Like, what do I love to do? And if I want to hang out and go hiking or go rock climbing, if that's what, I love to do, then I'm going to be more likely to meet people who like the same things I like. And so some people aren't going to do well on online, and that's okay. Like, there's no one way to find it. I mean, I fell in love with one of my best friends that was right in front of me all those years. But sometimes it's also our expectations of what love should look like versus let love be.
Correct.
Right? And that's really critical, because it's not always the package you desire. Like, if you ask me what my ideal type is, I mean, tall, dark, handsome, Antonio Banderas, all this stuff. And I've dated all people of all ethnic groups, because I don't see color. I just see love, and I see people's hearts. But I would tell you that when you are so focused on whatever you think ought to be your type, you miss amazing people who have everything else on your list, except maybe superficially what they might look like. I mean, my late fiance was white, like he's total European, Irish, but world traveled, and he really was interested in culture, which we had same core values. And my husband now is Black Puerto Rican. Like, it's completely... But it really is based on the love they have for me and the experiences we've been through. We just get each other, right? And when you have love and loss and tragedy, it's not about comparing. It's never better or worse. It's different. And different is beautiful, right? Because if you experience love with this person and it was exactly the same as the other person, or your ex, right? You never get to grow. You never get to learn a new way of seeing the world, and you never test the chamber of your heart. Like, it's always going to be loving one way, and I think our hearts are so expansive that you can love so many different ways, right? I can have room to love my late fiance still today, but still have this immense love for my husband today, and they're not in competition. But I think when you really trust your expansiveness as a being, as a spiritual being, and as a human being, you don't put all those limitations on yourself. And when you stop doing that for yourself, you stop putting limitations on other people. And you start seeing the truth of people, right?
Yeah.
So when I go to the boardrooms, my clients, they don't know why, but they just fall in love with me. They cry with me. They're like, what did I just tell you that for? Not even my husband or wife knows. And it's because I just want to connect with you as a human being. Exactly. The outcome will show itself. It'll lead the way, right? Yeah. And so same thing with dating. Show up. Like, figure out who you are first.
Get to know other stories. I mean, I'm fascinated by other stories. Like, I just what's your craziest?
Well, you're a storyteller anyway.
Oh my God. No, but what's the story? Like, what makes you tick? Like, and you talk about what you put to the universe. Like, you have these things, like, I want X, Y, and Z in someone, right? And someone said, oh, well, I have this, right? And they list, 20 different things. And some of them I'm like, okay, well, that's just crazy, but if you actually look at yourself and say, no, this is who I am, like what you want, not what you think the perception should be of what you want, what you actually want in somebody.
Yeah, and sometimes it's creepy or sometimes it's hilarious. It's like, I really want that.
Yeah.
I have a girlfriend who just loves what she calls the Woody Allen types, right? Maybe like the nerds, right? The thick glasses, and they're just super, super smart, and they're not really into social. She just, that's what she's drawn to.
Yeah.
And most people are like, are you crazy? And she goes online and she looks for these nerdiest of guys. She goes, oh my God, that's so sexy. So it just we define love differently, and it's okay, right? But what if she does meet this amazingly handsome guy that's not a Woody Allen type, but he has all the different quirks she wants? Like, she can't just be stuck there either.
Right.
So that's what I invite your listeners to really just think about. The most important thing is, where do I feel most happy? Where do I feel most at peace when I'm not anxiety-ridden and not trying to be somebody I'm not? I mean, the love that I have now with my husband is just so peaceful that I don't think about it. Right. Like, there's absolute trust. And you know what? If he breaks my heart, then I'll deal with it then. But I'm not going into the relationship thinking he's going to.
Right.
Right?
You bring it, like you said, bringing back your past.
Exactly.
Things that
No,
had happened.
I'm so content with where I am, and he's been through a lot in life. I've been through a lot in life. He grew up in the hoods, of Puerto Rico, and I came as a refugee. Right. We have core values. Things that matter to us are the same. Right. And I would invite your listeners, think of that, because that's the thing that lasts. Right. Sex, love, attraction, it'll be there, and you have to reinvent that too, right? Bodies change. I mean, since I've gotten married, I've gained a lot of weight. So did my husband. But it doesn't change my love for him, and that's really important. The real stuff.
Right,
not the super, the real stuff.
That's what
like, the real stuff.
And people say, like, one of my girlfriends that she was divorced, and she's been dating someone for a while, and she's like, I never expected it. And I said, well, you put it out there. We had this conversation on the phone. Do you not remember? And I said, she's like, yeah, I put it out there, and he showed up. Yeah. And like when I least expected it. Right. And you always hear that story, like when you least expect it, and it's true.
But I tell you, people say that when I least expect it, and they also think that it's when you're in a better place. When you least expect it could mean that you're down in the dumps and the love of your life shows up, and you're like, really, right now? I have nothing to offer you, and you just showed up?
Yeah.
And so some people run from that because they don't think that their pride gets in the way. Like, I should be here already. I should have X number of dollars in my bank account. I should have, I should be in this career field. I can't be in love right now because I can't cope. Well, that's a cop-out to me.
And that's a really good question, though. Who's saying that? Who is putting those preconceived notions?
It's in here. It's between our ears.
Yeah.
It's between our ears.
But nobody else in the outside world saying that. I mean, maybe,
maybe,
but yeah, care negative.
Right.
But but if you do have that, but just think about, you're telling yourself that. You're stopping yourself from finding love or success.
All the stuff that I've done over the years with neurofeedback and getting deeper into my just consciousness and doing the personal deep work that's required, I think, for all human beings to get to that level of enlightenment. And it's going to be years before I even feel like I'm enlightened. But I'll tell you, a lot of the stuff that we tell ourselves, the stories, it's just crap. That we've collected over the years that we've now allowed to become true. So we've given other people the power to create our story that now we've just, okay, I surrender, it's my story. I'm not good enough, and I'm not pretty enough, and I'm not the perfect, 10 or whatever. You could hear X, Y, and Z. And the truth is, and I'll give you an example. When when I started dating my husband now, it was crazy because I never liked my legs. Because I'm short, I have gymnast legs, right? And the first thing he said to me is, I love your legs, you have gymnast legs. And I'm like, oh my God, the things that we hate, this guy loves, right? And he's Puerto Rican and he's black, so he loves curves, and most Asians are like this. And he's like, I found me a Laurican, right? Because I'm Lao and Puerto Rican. And you have to remember that what you think of yourself is not always what people think of yourself. And somewhere in the middle lies the truth.
Right.
It's always that way. And that's the Buddhist thing, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle lies the truth. It's the middle path. You've got this extreme of negative talk, self-doubt. You've got all these people who adore you and tell you, you're so great, you're amazing. And somewhere in the middle is the truth, because human beings are flawed. But we're also miraculous and brilliant. And the fact that we're alive, you know what it took for us to be alive? All the stardust and cosmos, whether you're scientific or spiritual, it took a lot. To get to be in existence. And I think we forget our own brilliance.
Yeah.
But we can't come from that place of ego. We're brilliant because we're miraculously walking around Earth, but it's not because we need the accolades or say, oh, look, I'm so amazing. You are amazing, but do something with that amazingness.
Right. Use your gift.
Yeah.
Right. Know what what you want to bring into the world. Right. Don't just if you're not happy doing work or in business or in personal, work on it.
Yeah. I think the best thing that anyone can do, even if they don't become an entrepreneur, is to really live their calling every day. And if that means part-time when you go to work, or that means living your calling through your business, through your work, through your nonprofit, through your community.
Right.
But every day you need to get up and say, I'm doing something that I know I'm meant to do. And the only way to know what that meant to do is to truly uncover your gifts and talents that no one else in the world has. And that can only happen when you also allow yourself to think of your experiences.
Right.
So, and we talked about this before many times in our discussions, gifts and talents are different. Gifts, sometimes we can't uncover because they came with us, and it's innate. So we don't say, oh, okay, I'm good at that.
Right.
Talents are a little bit easier to identify because we've developed it. We've taken classes, people have helped us, right? But the experiences is also the thing that helps us figure out, what am I meant to do in this world? Why did I learn all those things,
Right.
Why did I have so many tragedies? Why did I have 7 losses in 10 years that broke my heart over and over again? But it's because now I'm able to help people who are in a very deep, dark place, but they want a place, an opportunity to get out, and they just need someone who's been there.
Right.
And you get to be a gift because you've been through your stuff, right? You've come out on the other side and you're still going through it. But there's other people who are a few steps behind you.
Yeah.
And I think we all have the obligation, maybe not the right word, but the opportunity to use our experiences to help somebody else. That's the best kind of living you can do.
Yeah.
Because if you're not here tomorrow, nobody remembers what car you drive or what brand, how many carat ring you had when you got married or what your dress brand name was. I'm just talking girly stuff now.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
But the truth is, it really comes down to how Maya Angelou said it best, how you leave people feeling, how you make people feel.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Molly. I'm so excited that you were here today, and cannot wait for the SOAR Community Network event on May 6th.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your support and your ambassadorship.
No problem. Happy to help.